Giving me responsibility and shit.
Definitely from a soap. My go-to soap has been Hung Shun by Perfectly Posh. And from now on, I'm not gonna sleep without the squatch. And reorder soap when I need more. Wanna say hi, Ashby? Ashby. We're getting ready to go outside. But I don't know, I figured I'd say, hey, what's up? Once in a blue t-shirt, I say, just gotta say, we're hanging out. I just think I'd go live, see if I can stir their haters up a little bit. Hey Rita, what's up? I just wanted to go live and just say, hey, you wanna go outside? Don't slam that. Ooh, am I taking away? We're gonna go outside. It was rainy this morning, foggy, but the sun is coming out, so we're gonna go outside and go on our merry way. But I had to, Lala Lila, Crystal. I had to come on. Hey Joan, I had to come on and tell you guys about the soap because so far bar number 2 on this soap is really good. If you want a coupon code, it's Chris Ready Snow, all capitals with 15 after it, and I think you get 15% off. I'm old, so there he is. There he is. I thought he.
Hi, we're redecorating our home, and what is this?
Oh, this is called offline shopping. It's like online shopping, but in real life.
Wait, so I can touch anything before I buy?
Yep.
Even this?
Yeah.
Even this?
Mm-hmm.
Even this?
Even that.
Okay, but do you offer 2-day shipping?
Well, you buy the thing and then leave, so it's more like today shipping.
It's your fault for not
ultra instinct to pull out. You just kicked your baby mama into a mountain.
I feel sorry for the mountain.
You asshole! This'll teach you how to treat a man, chick.
Bitch, you ain't even that far! That far!
Boredom, boredom.
Like, seriously, it's like living with a gang of rookies. Nothing makes me gag more when I accidentally swallow a long strand of hair when eating. That the best time to clean the house is right before we have to leave to go somewhere. It would be embarrassing to have thieves break in and think you're a slob. Everything is scheduled around washing her hair. I've never really realized this until you put it into words. And it's totally correct. Absolutely. I plan my important events around my hair washing schedule. I try not to wash my hair for as long as I can get away with it, but I wash at least once a week. My hair is long, and it's a whole thing to wash it. Then you have to dry and style it. It can take me easily an hour just to shower and do my hair alone. Now I understand why so much floor space in the grocery store is devoted to creams, lotions, soaps, shampoos, remedies, band-aids, hair management and vacuum. Also why there's a whole industry devoted to products to hold and organize that stuff. Also, evidently sheets need to be changed on a regular weekly schedule. Who knew? Changing your sheets and pillowcases out on a regular basis is good for your skin. It will help reduce breakouts if you're prone to them. This is very true. I had terrible acne throughout all of high school to the point that I had to go on Accutane 4 times. Looking back, I seriously think I changed my sheets maybe once every 6 months. I definitely learned the hard way. Now I change them every Sunday like clockwork. When they pee, it's really loud. Not the urine hitting the water, but when it comes out of them. I never knew. On the flip side, girl who recently moved in with a guy here. I can't even tell when you're peeing if you're sitting down. I've had this conversation so many times. Are you just sitting on the toilet? No, I'm peeing. Are you sure? It's because the pee hits the inside of the bowl and runs down. Paper towels are expensive. The way my wife talks about them, they are woven from angel hairs and can't be used without express written consent. Same for Clorox wipes, but worse. The average woman uses between 8 to 10 rolls of toilet paper daily. Hey man, we're flappy down there. There are just a lot of folds. Gotta clean it there. The bathtub drain gets clogged by long hair very easily, which is why it gets pasted on the walls of the shower. Any attempts to prevent one will result in the other. Tub shrew. It's a game changer. Not true. She never cleans it. I have to clean it. She just takes it out and smashes her fresh batch of hair on the shower wall. I always assumed that hot girls have lives full of social activities and there are always people trying to date them. Truth is, most of them are bored and wish they had more friends and just watch Netflix at home by themselves after work like the rest of us. Most of us guys just want a hot girl to watch Netflix with. The problem is hunting them down. Internet dating is a shit show. You can't hunt them down because they're too busy watching Netflix alone at home. Netflix needs a dating app. There are 4 other singles in your area who have also binge-watched 3 full seasons of The Office today. That there is apparently a wrong way to put the milk in the fridge. Also, if she can't sleep, I'm not allowed to either. Also, if she can't sleep, I'm not allowed to either. And if she goes to sleep, so must we. How much they really don't like to wear bras. I do most of the shopping in the house. My my wife will ask me to grab pads or shampoo or anything else, I absolutely refuse to go without a picture. Full name, color of bottle, volume/quantity, size of bottle with a size reference, like her hand. I once had two women helping me look for her pads. Took us 5 minutes, and they're, what if imagine, are experts in that area. I'd been looking for what seemed like 6 years before that. I think I even heard them laugh as I turned the corner to leave. Shampoo and conditioner is often a separate trip. I don't have that much time to spend at Walmart. I have my husband text me a photo of the shelves when he is looking for an item for me. I can usually see the item in the photo and tell him exactly where it is. They are just as gross and slobby as we are. Oh, they are far worse. How hot the water is when they shower. No need for soap when you can just burn the germs off of you. That they actually still have makeup on even if it looks like they don't wear any. Because when we go natural, people are always like, you tired, or you sick. Don't make me sick. They rearrange a lot. It's how we relieve stress. I was the most annoying person to live below in college, but it's just so damn therapeutic. Clothing. So much clothing. When I got married, my wife moved in and brought 24 pairs of jeans. I counted them. A week after our honeymoon, she told me I have no clothes. Saw some cool jeans at the mall in blue. Here I just make do with 3 pairs. I learned personal time is very important to have, especially if you sleep in the same room. Having our time separated in different rooms, doing different activities. It's best not to spend every waking moment together. If you're both introverts, the art of being alone together is very important to learn. This, seriously. Most of my friends are hardcore extroverts, which is its own challenge. No one understands my marriage, because my husband and I are totally fine spending our evenings in companionable silence, while I knit or read, and he plays video games. Like we enjoy each other's company, that doesn't mean we have to be actively socializing. Edit, I accidentally a word. Seducing a woman you live with starts with doing the dishes. And do not act all proud about it, like you did something special. It just should be done. The toilet seat and lid belong in the down position when it's not in use. It looks better and the dog doesn't drink out of it. Get out of here, woman. You're not convincing anyone, and you are dehydrating the dog. The act of showering is a detailed and complex process, and it's just one act in the production of getting ready. If they come home at night and don't expect you to be home, make some kind of you-specific, but non-threatening noise somewhere on the other side of the house before you say hi to them. Do not just pop your head around the corner and say hi. Girls coming home at night to an empty house are in pins and needles, even if they don't know it. Girls coming home at night to an empty house are in pins and needles. Generally never realized how scared they feel from time to time in their day-to-day lives. They drink a lot of wine when they are sad, or when they are stressed, or when they feel like drinking a lot of wine at most evenings. That the difference of I'm not hungry at all, and I'm going to eat you alive, because I'm desperately hungry is about 5 seconds. Hopping in bed with jeans on is roughly equivalent to dumping month-old trash all over said bed. The hair. I just don't understand how she can shed that much hair and not be bald. It's literally everywhere. You can never know what's safe to put in the dryer. Jeans never go in the dryer because they'll shrink, and I just broke them into a comfy fit, except when they are now too loose and need to shrink a little, so they show off my form and don't make me look fat. Ditto for shirts, PJs, workout clothes. Basically any piece of clothing needs to be prepared for the dryer every wash. That women are exactly as terrible as men, and that it is not the gender, but the individual personality and experience that determine how they live. I've lived with 3 women in my life long term. One was an Esther. She wanted the place tidy and presentable, needed nice curtains in the windows over the blinds, dirty dishes rinsed and stacked neatly, laundry in the hamper, etc. She'd get very angry about something as simple as leaving a wet washcloth on the edge of the tub after a shower. Very high-strung. One was a total slob. She'd come home and change out of work clothes and leave her whole dirty outfit, including socks and rank, sweaty underwear, in the front room or the TV room. If I didn't pick them up, they'd stay there till she wore out of clean clothes and had to do laundry. Wouldn't shower sometimes for a couple of days straight. Left hair what in the shower and on the counter, left food-encrusted spoons sitting directly on the kitchen counter. She was easygoing about everything but always started getting worried I was angry when he started cleaning up. Couldn't pay her bills on time, even when collections started garnishing her wages. And the other was middle of the road. Didn't need everything perfect, had some expectations, and got annoyed from time to time like most people, but generally acted like an adult. But you know what? With all three, the one thing I learned is that long hair gets everywhere and is super uncomfortable when it gets tangled in your butt crack after you pull a clean pair of briefs out of the dryer in a rush. When I was a teenager and starting to date, I felt very frustrated because I wanted women to just tell me what they wanted, so I wouldn't have to have the frustrating experience of guessing and getting it wrong. I thought maybe women withheld information about what they wanted as a sort of test, and I think that's true for a minority of women. What I learned later in life from living with women is that women don't explicitly state what they want because, in both men and women, the part of the brain that explains concepts in words isn't necessarily programmed with knowledge of the part of the brain that wants and likes things, even when they would really like to be able to explain what they want. Knowing and being able to talk about what you want is a skill, as insane as that sounds, and it takes time to develop it. Got any similar examples? Leave it in the comments below. Part of the
Hi, we're redecorating our home, and what is this?
Oh, this is called offline shopping. It's like online shopping, but in real life.
girls of Reddit, what is something guys shouldn't feel insecure about? It's okay to not be the smartest person in the room. Admitting you don't know / understand a thing does not make you look weak. Blustering your way through makes you seem like an arrogant. Reminds of that quote, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I guess I'm always in the right room. Some friends of mine are really insecure about not being able to grow a beard. TBH, it doesn't really matter. Don't know what I'd do without wonder. How else am I supposed to hide my face? Paper bag. Maybe tape a picture of a model's face on it. Many guys came into this thread looking for someone saying size, and I still don't believe them. They're bum. But then Captain America enters the room. Well, he's enhanced, not fair to compare. The flip side of the comments about not being able to grow a beard. Guys shouldn't feel insecure about being hairy. I love a hairy chest, and don't find the hairy back or shoulders to be a problem. Like most things listed here, yeah, you'll find women who won't like it, but if they are willing to write you off for something physical that is out of your control, they probably aren't the person for you. I will say, regardless of anything else, hygiene is important. If you're hairy, you might sweat more depending on the climate and how warm you run. But if you shower regularly and keep everything clean, it's all good. Edit, yes, this includes hairy butts, backs, legs, shoulders, etc. I think the only thing I might ask someone to trim would be crazy nose hair, though that could be disguised by a mustache. Don't feel insecure about liking girly things. Order that fruity drink, watch that rom-com, and sing in the shower. A lot less people care than you might realize. Singing in the shower is girly. I love singing in the shower, loudly long. Probably depends on what you're singing. I don't think anyone's gonna call me out as girly for belting out thrash metal lyrics while I'm cleaning up. It's raining men. A good example is actually happening right now. I'm at a pool party. Two very nice overweight guys are in the pool, but they are both wearing t-shirts to cover their guts and just standing around. Then there is a third heavy-set guy who easily has an extra 40 pounds on the other two guys. He is shirtless, having the time of his life playing with a band in the pool basketball game and cracking jokes. He is way more attractive to the girls because he isn't ashamed of his body and exudes confidence. Should all three lose weight? Sure, most of us should, but don't stop having fun because you are ashamed of yourself. Live your life and have fun. This is very attractive to all people. Just my opinion. it. It makes everyone feel more secure. When the girl feels like she's the only one who has real feelings in the relationship, then it's hard to trust the guy. And the guy often feels misunderstood as he isn't conveying what he wants to. Guys, please know it's okay to be emotional. You deserve to be honest with the people around you. And it makes relationships so much better for everyone involved. Balding. So many guys try to hide it, or even get plugs or constantly wear hats. Just keep the sides cut close, first or shaved, and most women will actually think it's attractive. A friend of mine shows signs of balding already. He seems pretty confident about it, saying at one point he is just going to shave it all. Honestly, his confidence is attractive. No matter what the hair looks like, confidence makes all the difference. IDK if it's true or not,
Lol.
but I heard a lot of guys are insecure / care a lot about their hair. One of my guy friends once told me that he spends a good 15 minutes in the morning styling it, so it looks okay. Honestly, I don't really notice a guy's hair, unless it's drastically different from everyone else. That is like buzz cut, super long, or just some.
Following the major victory of Conservatives in the UK and the massive defeat of the Labour Party, Brexit has finally won. I mean, they voted for it, but come on, man. Even with the majority, I'm skeptical. We'll see. It's been years. But we do have big breaking news. UK Parliament backs Brexit deal in decisive step toward leaving the EU on January 31st. The decision marks a significant breakthrough for Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who swept to electoral victory last week on a pledge to get Brexit done. The story from NBC News. But I have another story, which makes me worried that even with this majority, something bad might happen. Because I'll tell you what, it keeps happening, and I'm not entirely convinced it won't happen again. But let me just say, as somebody who is not British and doesn't know exactly how the people of this country feel, there is an overlap between the Brexit voter, the Trump voter, the white working class individuals who want to have their voice heard, who are tired of being smeared and called racist and all of those things. Some of those people may be bad people, but to overwhelmingly generalize all of these people results in overwhelming defeat for your party. This is now, as I understand it, the second definitive vote saying get Brexit done. Maybe we'll see it. Let's read the news, but then I want to rain on your parade because I think there's rocky waters ahead. But I must admit, I think we're seeing the home stretch. This is the final stretch. They're coming to the finish line. I think they're going to get it. NBC News reports British lawmakers on Friday finally voted to back a plan to withdraw from the European Union. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's bill, backed by a huge parliamentary majority, will take the country out of the 28-member bloc on January 31st and lays the groundwork for sweeping foreign and trade policy shifts. The 358 to 234 vote marks a significant breakthrough for Johnson, who stormed to electoral victory last week on a pledge to get Brexit done. The former mayor of London won the largest Conservative majority since Margaret Thatcher in 1987, confirming his position as Prime Minister after he took over from Theresa May in July. You know what's really crazy about what happened in the UK? Look, I know I should say this. I'll defer to Sargon, all right, if you guys watch Sargon's content, because he's from there. He knows better than me. But my understanding is that there were districts that were liberal, like leftist, for like 100 years that voted Conservative because of how messed up everything is. And I'll tell you this, Brexit may have been the linchpin to get Brexit done, was the big push, and people were finally sick of the process saying, just do it. But I'll tell you this, you didn't just give Boris Johnson a path towards Brexit. You gave the Conservative Party a majority for other conservative policies. And now they're apparently putting forward, economic plans. And so far it looks like the markets and the British pound to US dollar, it's actually doing really well. Well, let's keep reading. NBC News reports.
Parrot doesn't do so good in this situation. Fudge.
The withdrawal agreement bill, legislation that will implement the divorce deal hammered out with the European Union. Britain joined the EU, the European Economic Community, a precursor to the EU, in 1973. His predecessor, May, failed on 3 occasions to win support for a deal she had agreed with the EU, leading her to resign earlier this year. In October, Johnson was forced to break his own do-or-die deadline to lead Britain out of the bloc after lawmakers rejected his proposed timetable to get the withdrawal agreement bill through Parliament, meaning he had to request a Brexit extension from European leaders. Now here's where things get murky. Okay, first, you saw what they just said. Johnson was like, we're going to do or die. It's going to happen. And then other lawmakers rejected his timetable, and it got pushed back. He was forced to go and ask for an extension. Because of that, the idea was he was then going to call for a general election, which they won. Now meaning many of these people who blocked that Brexit may be gone. And again, I'll defer to the people in the UK probably know better, but there's already op-eds popping up, and this could just be the remnants of the resistance trying to stop Brexit, saying that they're not going to be able to get this trade deal done, and it's going to be really, really bad, and then they're going to be beholden to the US. But I gotta say, hey, as an American, I think the cousins across the pond, us American bros and men and women, will do right by the UK if they want a trade deal with us. I think that makes sense, right? Let's read on the bill. Dubbed WAB by Brexit watchers, commits Britain to leave the European Union on January 31st and to conclude trade talks with the bloc by the end of 2020. The final stages of ratification will take place after Christmas. However, this should not be confused with the end of Brexit, as we are only nearing the end of stage 1. And this is where I want everyone, listen, I'm not telling you, like, I think there's some pitfalls to Brexit. I'm not British. I don't know. I'm just saying, if the people say they want it, you probably should just do it, okay? For better or for worse. My position has always been, you can rag on Trump all day and night, but I'll tell you this, the guy won, and people wanted him to win, and they get to live with his decisions, good or bad. Brexit is the same thing. But I'll tell you this now, it's the end of stage 1. So I'm going to rain on your parade, I guess. If you're someone who's really, really into Brexit, you happen to live up there, or you're an American who wants to see it get done, I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of time. And I think what we see Boris Johnson doing, get out of the EU by the 31st, and then start negotiating trade, was the smart move. Because if they tried to play it like they would get a trade agreement before leaving, it would never happen. And that's the complaint I'll pull up in a second. They say much of the angst over Brexit since Britain voted to leave the European Union in June 2016 has centered on the divorce itself. With that endorsed by Parliament Friday, the UK must now pivot to negotiating what Brexit will actually look like for citizens and businesses alike. First, the United Kingdom will enter a transition period that lasts until December 2020, in which it will continue to act like a member of the European Union. In the meantime, top of the agenda is defining the nature of Britain's future relationship with the European Union post-divorce. And there it is. Nothing's going to change for a year. I'll tell you this, man. How much do you want to bet? And I'm warning you, you might think I'm crazy, but we said a general...
Listen up. The soap you shower with? It's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't.
Election. Look, I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a British citizen, but I'm worried there will be another flip. There will be another, something bad will happen. Someone, look, they voted for Brexit over 3 years ago, and they can't get it done. It's been a back and forth, up, down, left, right. If you rest on your laurels now as a Brexit supporter, if you're like, we did it, Johnson's in, we're done, I'm gonna go home. Now you're gonna lose. They're gonna take it away from you. I do not believe this is the end. Even NBC News is saying, don't confuse us for the end of Brexit, because as much as they're saying we'll be out by the 31st, they're going to act like a member until 2020. What happens if they can't negotiate a trade deal? What happens then if you see a mounting effort by the Labour Party? They get rid of Corbyn, who's unpopular and deeply anti-Semitic apparently, and they find someone who's more moderate and more popular who wants to remain. And then they start playing games. I just don't believe it. I really don't. I think, you know what, man? I listened to a speech by Nigel Farage, and I was really impressed. Did you know that the UK has a House of Lords? I didn't understand this. I thought it was like the House and the Senate. No, it turns out the House of Lords are like appointees of like landowners from historic time. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my general understanding. And I was talking to, I think it was like Sargon and Dankula, and they were like, yep. So Nigel Farage had abolished the House of Lords. And I'm like, how have you not? Wow, being governed by old money, like literally it's like we're nobles, so we're in charge? Nah, I don't play that. I'm an American. In America, you could be from the gutter, you could be a bartender from New York and become a congressperson. Yes, I respect AOC for making that leap. That's what America's all about. I can criticize her for being ignorant, naive and all that, but I love the fact that in America, you can be a bartender, you can be a working class Joe and say, I'm coming in, I'm taking you guys down, and no, we're not going to be subjected to, historical money and lords. I must admit, though, the system falls in that direction no matter what we do anyway, right? Senators are all super wealthy, we have legacy politicians, I get it, but at least, it's not built that way, and we have some safeguards, You can see people come from modest means, the American dream is a real thing. So Nigel Farage also talked about a constitution, and I think that's one of the biggest problems I've seen, as somebody who doesn't know a whole lot about how the UK works, I'm generally confused when they're like, oh, it's a new government, oh, we're switching, now we're going to have a general election. I'm like, the U.S. is much more rigid than that. You know, we know when our elections are going to be, we know what our rights are, and they're essentially immutable. I mean, I say essentially because it's really, really hard to get rid of a constitutional right. You know, we have amended and gotten rid of some things, like prohibition was taken away. I think that was put in the Constitution, right? Anyway, our government is based on a founding document. UK doesn't have that. So, and there's a lot of countries that don't. Let's read a little bit more, and then I'll bring you to the worrying news. They say by most accounts, 11 months to strike a trade deal is ambitious, but Johnson has insisted that he won't agree to any more delays. The pledge has set off alarm bells among businesses who fear Britain could crash out of the European Union with no future trade arrangement in place at the beginning of 2021. A no-deal Brexit is widely considered a nightmare scenario, raising the possibility of shortages of food and medicine, civil unrest, and conflicts in Northern Ireland. But I tell you this, I think Trump wants a symbolic victory. So you may have heard about Jeff Van Drew, for those that are American who are watching. He's a
Oh shit, I'm fighting a lot, my bad.
who is now flipping to become a Republican. It's a huge risk. But I think the Republicans are going to protect him. You know why? They want the symbolic victory of proving they've defeated the left. If Jeff Van Drew is voted out, it would only make Republicans look weak or disloyal. So I think Trump's going to get behind Van Drew. I think he's going to say he was a smart man, he's a moderate, and we respect his voice even though we disagree, and Republicans are going to support that to prove a point. Not only that, a lot of Republicans are probably moderate too, disagree with Van Drew on certain issues. But here's the point. Donald Trump has every reason to strike a trade deal with the UK before the end of 2020, even as soon as possible. And they've been talking about it. Apparently there's some fake news about the US like interfering with their National Health Service or whatever. Apparently that's fake news. It's like propaganda or something. I have no idea. The point is, think about the symbolic victory of Trump talking about, you know, nationalism and fair trade agreements and you know, you have the USMCA, which even Nancy Pelosi says was fantastic. Donald Trump then steps up, goes to Boris Johnson, says, don't worry about it. We got your back. You voted to leave the EU, and we'll make sure that vote stands. Donald Trump, populist right. Brexit, a populist right-wing movement. Boris Johnson is the same thing. Babylon Bee, a satirical website, ran a joke article saying, Labor voters shocked, cry or scream after seeing Boris Johnson pull off a mask to reveal he's actually Donald Trump. The point is, if Trump wants to make an example of the defeat of these leftist policies and positions, he needs to make sure the UK doesn't face food shortages, civil unrest, etc. The UK is going to face civil unrest no matter what, as will the US. But I think this is a big opportunity for Trump to say, if you want to take care of yourself, we got your back, but it's your country. You want to leave the EU? Congratulations, you did it. Your people voted, so be it. Now we'll negotiate a trade deal with you guys. Trump will claim another major victory on a fair trade deal that's good for both countries, make sure the UK doesn't collapse, and interestingly, creates this strange, historical inversion where the colonies were once under the jurisdiction of the Crown, and now the Crown is seeking assistance, a trade deal from the United States. So it creates like a really balancing factor. Now I get it, a lot of people will say the US came and saved the UK 100 years ago, with World War II and stuff. No, I know it's funny, but it's like, we used to be, under the Crown, and now it's the Crown coming to the US and us being like, we got your back, you know what I mean? So it's funny stuff. But let me give you a little bit more, because I want to make sure, with this historic vote for Brexit, make sure you stay vigilant, diligent. Another Brexit crisis next year is almost guaranteed from the Irish Times. Trade experts are unanimous. There is no time for a major EU trade deal before December. And this is why I talked about Trump and his symbolic victory and why he would want to have a trade deal with the UK, to prove a point, to claim he's winning, and that will really rally his base. People in the UK will be really rallied by that. Look, a lot of Brexit voters, they like Trump too. But if you think the Labour Party and the left are going to back down in the face of Brexit, you're sorely mistaken. Donald Trump won the presidency, and we have dealt with nothing but years of psychosis, okay? They refused to accept it. They hate the man so much. They tried to impeach him. In fact, they didn't actually even impeach him. I'll get to that in the next segment at 4 p.m. But I tell you this is the budding crisis that you will start hearing about moving forward to make sure Brexit does not happen. Trade experts are unanimous. There will not be a time for a major EU trade deal. You're going to get all these people, working class people too, concerned. Is the economy going to tank? Are we going to have shortages of food, water, medicine? What's going to happen? We really need that trade deal. And then when they they start, hammering, oh, the economy's going to crash, and they're going to do the recession line. There's going to be massive outrage. This is the fuel. This is the seed being planted to make sure that Brexit doesn't move forward. It's the last-ditch effort of the left, or it's their mounting resistance. It's not over. It'll never be over. The ends don't justify the means because you will never meet the ends. Perhaps Brexit will actually happen January 31st, but as you saw, they're going to act like members of the EU until December 2020, so basically another year. That's a long time for people to try and do something. Granted, I understand there will be a formal, they will formally leave the EU on the 31st. I guess if you like Brexit, you better cross your fingers because there have been so many blocks and delays. Who knows what will happen? But I'll tell you this. My bet, my prediction for what's going to happen with the UK is Trump is going to swoop in with a very, very UK favoring trade deal. I think there will be a trade deal that will heavily favor the UK. Absolutely. I don't think it will be bad for the US, but I think it will be slightly better for the UK. The reason is, like I stated, they want the symbolic victory. They need to make sure the UK proves that their populist movement works. So if Trump does a trade deal with them that hurts the UK and they struggle, that proves it doesn't work, and it proves that voting in this direction is bad across the board. Leaving the EU and not getting a trade deal with the EU, if that's true, will be bad for many people in the UK. I also think it's fair to point out too, however, you can think of the trade arrangements as kind of an addiction. You're getting all this food and medicine and stuff from the EU, so you become less self-reliant. You start, working with trade partners. The way Trump has worked things has brought jobs back. I mean, Detroit's bringing in 3,000 new jobs. Apple is now going to start manufacturing products in the United States. I think there may be some hardship, but the general idea is that even without a trade deal at all, Britain needs to make sure it's self-reliant and they can handle their own food stores and their own medicine. Because if they can't produce it on their own, they're in trouble. But again, here's my prediction, and I'll wrap it up here. I think Trump is going to come in with a very, very favorable deal for the EU. I'm sorry, for the EU, for the UK, to make that point. Like, wow, look how well they're doing. Tired of winning yet? That's going to be the play. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. But I'll leave with one final note. If you are someone who likes Brexit and you sit back and kick your feet up, don't be surprised if they pull out from underneath you. This has been delayed for 3 years. Don't think the fight is over. Even NBC News is saying it's not over yet. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. YouTube.com/Timcast. It is a different channel, and I will see you all there.
The great enemy of writing isn't your own lack of talent, it's being interrupted by other people. Constant interruptions are the destruction of the imagination. In this class, you're going to be exploring your own imagination deep within you, and we're going to begin with shorter forms because short stories, short monologues, poetry, things that you can finish and show other people, that's very satisfying and necessary for a writer. What we all need is the satisfaction of this little uplift that we get psychologically from finishing something. There are two ways of looking at writing. One way is that you're telling a story very transparently. The other is that you're telling a story with language, and language is the point. How fast do you want your story to read? If it reads too fast, then it might be superficial. If a person reads it in 5 minutes, it's all over. So we're also going to be exploring your writing workshop. Writers are like cooks that they keep everything in the refrigerator and put it all in the casserole. Like, what doesn't go in for dinner tonight? Well, it's going to show up next Sunday. So your story has a few too many bits in it. I've always felt that art is the highest expression of the human spirit. Art is the way that
No.
Joining us now with the reaction to all of today's news is Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan and House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Biggs of Arizona. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I had the honor and privilege of serving with both of you. Congressman Jordan, I want to start with you. What in the world?
J.K. Rowling came came out in support of a woman who is fired for her tweets about transgender women. The Harry Potter author is facing intense criticism for backing Maya Forstater, who opposes the UK government's proposal to allow people to change their legal gender. The case has driven hashtag #IStandWithMaya. You may have seen this story because I covered it yesterday, but we have some interesting developments, and it's kind of made me particularly frustrated. I have some bad news for people. Science is a thing, and you can't just say something is anti-science without actually having academia to back it up. Now you have a bunch of activists, you have a bunch of organizations condemning J.K. Rowling because she said something that is currently backed by science. Now, I gotta warn y'all, science changes, okay? We can be wrong about things, and we may learn and reassess and change how we view the world. The fact remains, until that happens, you are being anti-science when you accuse J.K. Rowling of being anti-science. Okay, I gotta slow down. A lot of you
Holy
are probably like,
moly,
what's happening?
Julio, you are fed.
J.K. Rowling.
Our most fed is our...
We all know that. For some
Never
reason,
mind.
she can't seem to
Holy
just
shit.
stop.
He's fed as
Like, I'll
fuck.
tell you this. The past few movies, the Grindelwald things, like I said this the other day, not good, don't like them. Yeah, you know. And so I actually have a funny tweet for you, and I'm gonna show you. It's from this guy Nathan Grayson, who is a reporter at Kotaku. Now, I can imagine that him being someone at Kotaku, we probably have political disagreements, but I think I have to say I completely agree with him right here when he says, J.K. Rowling will forever be remembered as a person who could have shut the F up after 2007, but for some reason did not. Okay, this is an update to a story, so I don't want to waste too much time telling you everything, but basically there's a woman named Maya Forstater. Her contract expired, and they wouldn't renew her contract. She apparently had a hearing because the reason they wouldn't renew it is because she's made controversial statements. Actually, I don't think they're controversial at all, but I guess everything is controversial because everything is anti-science and everyone's insane. But anyway, they wouldn't renew her position. And she said, here's an example of something that made it so that she couldn't work there anymore. She said, I am perfectly happy to use preferred pronouns and accept everyone's humanity and right to free expression. Trans women are trans women. That's great. But enforcing the dogma that trans men are women is totalitarian. Okay? Here's another person who's tweeted at her. This is a strange case. When women wear flats, trousers, and no makeup, they don't become men. And she said, no, indeed. And when men wear makeup, heels, dresses, they don't become
Bro,
women.
Liam Ward is shredding us, bro. Holy shit. And anti-regen. Holy fuck. He's stacked. He's stacked with it.
That's what's happening.
LOL.
She also tweeted that she doesn't see the difference.
Moskov is frustrated.
A man claiming to be
Oh no.
and Rachel Dolezal pretending to be black. J.K. Rowling tweeted in defense of her, saying something like, actually, do they have the tweet from J.K. Rowling? I have another article that I want to show you. She said, dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you. Live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real? I stand with Maya. Hashtag this is not a drill. Here's the update. We are now seeing tweets from some celebrities that prove to me social media has created a cult. These people are absolutely insane. And you know what, Mark Hamill, you are not being spared. You know what, Mark Hamill, your voice acting is impeccable. You are the best Joker of all Jokers, in my opinion. I know, and it's the animated series, but you know, in the video games too, is Joker voice. It's the Joker. I mean, I grew up with that. Okay, much respect. And you're Luke Skywalker. I can separate the art from the artist, and absolutely commend you on being a tremendously great and talented artist. When it comes to politics, I'm sorry. I try to avoid doing things like this, but I have to say it, Mark, you are being a spineless coward. Okay? And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to hurt your feelings or just make an emotional dig. I'm saying that in the truest sense of what those facts mean. All right? Let me explain. He liked the tweet from J.K. Rowling. I can respect that. Fine. What I can't respect is this. A woman on Twitter. Why did you like this transphobic tweet? Mark Hamill's response. Ignorance is no excuse. But I liked the tweet without understanding what the last line or hashtags meant.
It's over anyway.
4 lines I liked.
Sylvana slays.
Any transphobic connotation. Mark, you just told
Good job.
us that when you like tweets, when you interact with these things, you don't understand them. Now, okay, I'll be fair. Maybe it's the one time Mark didn't really understand what he was liking. Or maybe Mark doesn't really understand what he's liking at all and what he's apologizing for. He just said he didn't realize it had any transphobic connotation, and that, you know what that means to me? He still doesn't understand why it does. He's just saying, oh, some random person on the internet got mad. better change my political opinion. Bravo! I'm sorry. You have no spine. And it's not just Mark Hamill. Patricia Arquette apparently said, I do not stand with Maya for many reasons. Okay, you know what? Listen, there's a difference between protecting someone's feelings, respecting their humanity, making sure that in our society they will remain safe and have access to programs and healthcare, and all of that is important and must be accomplished. There's a difference between that and saying that females also are warranting the same protections, okay? That there is a distinction between a trans woman and a biological
Oh man, I guess I gotta
For
dip,
whatever
bro. It's
reason,
work.
they don't want to do that. So I'll tell you what,
See y'all later tonight.
let me show you